All right, my great pleasure to introduce to the show Herbie J. Pilato. How we doing today, Herbie?
I am doing so well. It's so nice to be here and t talk about Sean.
I know, I know. Well, listen, I've had your book. I'm just going to show it to the camera. This will be no good for anyone on the podcast. In fact, let me try and get it into focus.
There you go.
Connery, Sean Connery, before, during, and after his most famous role. Herbie J, how did you get to write this book? How did it present itself to you?
Well, quite frankly, let's see, it's been 5 years now, that I started writing it. I was done with writing in books specifically. I wanted to move on to screenwriting, get back into acting. And my agent said, look, you need to write another book and you need to do something that is just not classic TV, because that was really my little corner of the world. That was my focus. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? Who am I supposed to write about in the movies? I was just at a loss. So we actually looked at who died that week. Seriously, this is what happened. We looked at who died that week, and Sean, God bless him, died, passed away, and so did Dinah Rigg. And so I got a couple book proposals together, sent them to my agent, and with another book that I had an idea for, and we sold these 2 or 3 books within 3 weeks. It was amazing, and that's how it happened. I always loved Sean. Always thought he was the number one Bond, and just an amazing, remarkable presence on screen. But I never thought that I would ever write anything about him. And then as I got into it and realized just what an amazing human he was, I was thought, well, I got to do this right, and that's how it happened. And we
Yeah.
can talk, more as after I stop talking about.
No, it's much better if you're talking. Absolutely. So I've written a couple of books myself. I'm always interested in the process of other writers and authors and their style and how they approach projects like this. Perhaps you can just walk us through yours, please.
Well, it's interesting because I'm not what I like to call foo-foo author. The I'm scholarly, but not. I'm more pop culture-y, and I really am relatively objective, and yet I'm also a fan. So it's somewhere in between all of that. But with Sean, I really wanted to, because there were so many books out there about him and James Bond and the whole thing. How am I going to make this different? So there are books about him, his life, and then there are books about him as James Bond, and then there are books about James Bond, and then there are books about his films, beyond James Bond. So I wanted to combine all of that into one book and tell the narrative story of who he was as a human being, as an actor, as James Bond, as these other characters, and explore all of his films, all of his movies, Bond and beyond. And in the process of doing that, it's like he will always be James Bond. And he had this love hate relationship, as I'm sure you know. He had this love hate relationship with James Bond. And ultimately, before he died, I really do believe he came to peace with it. He did, like, what, that video game or something where he gave the
Yeah.
voiceover.
From Russia with Love, I think he did
Yes,
the
and
voice
from
acting.
Russia with Love was his favorite of
Hmm.
the James Bond films. He liked the grittiness of it and the reality of it. So as I was writing the book, each of the movies he did, there was a piece of James Bond in those characters. I don't care what he was doing, whether it
Yeah.
was the monk in what's that movie?
In the Name of the Rose.
In the Name of the Rose. There's this Reverend James Bond,
Right.
or not, and he couldn't escape it. He tried to escape it, and to some extent he did, but he kind of sort of didn't. He made his mark as an actor, trust me. Obviously, beyond Bond, but he was so charismatic.
Yeah.
He was so handsome and so elegant. He couldn't help but be James Bond, no matter what he did.
Which I think is kind of the tragedy of it, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, but reading your book and other references that I've picked up along the way, him trying to get away from Bond, having done what, 5 films in 5 years. I think he did just like a year on the spin. And so he was like, right, okay, I'm not making enough money. I've fallen out with the producers enough now. It's time to do something different. And each time he tried to do something different, he would have like a hit there, but then two failures there. And he would try and get himself as far away removed, like you were saying, from the role of James Bond. But then because he needed a hit, maybe he had to do diamonds. He wanted the, to fund a college or a university. So he got pulled back in, and then Never Say Never Again. He got pulled back in, and he thought, right, the initial script was great. He looked at that, and then that kind of changed on him as well last minute, and he had to wrestle back certain things he wanted to put back in the film. Anyway, my point is, he had this love-hate relationship with Bond, and each time he tried to move away from it, like they pulled him back in somehow, so he could
Like the
never really
mafia.
release it. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it just feels like. Do you sense that if they maybe gave him enough money and brought him on as a producer role from the start, or if you felt like the relationships were different between him and the producers from the get-go, that he could have probably done more films, or he might have, you know, at least had a better relationship with being James Bond.
Well, I mean, this happens all the time, or at least it did back in the day in the classic eras of 60s and 70s. When an actor would become familiar with so connected with a role, they would feel stereotyped. And it happened to Elizabeth Montgomery with Bewitched. It happened with Mary Tyler Moore on, the Dick Van Dyke Show and the Mary Tyler Moore Show. And then eventually, like just like Sean, they do come to peace with it because they realize how beloved they are. But I kind of always got the feeling that Sean didn't want to do James Bond in the beginning anyway. He even told him, he's like, look, I'm bald. What are you going to do with that? And they were like, we don't care,
Yeah.
because the producers loved the way
He
he
didn't want to.
walked.
He didn't want to do an audition. He said, "Right, no, take
No.
it or leave it."
Yeah, exactly. So I think there was some struggle in the beginning. So, but then of course, he was an actor and he wanted to make money, like you say. So he does the first movie and then everybody goes wild and he's like, wow, this is really great. Great. I'm okay. I'm a superstar. Great. And then he got tired of it. And then the press and publicity, he had no, real strong connection with the press in any real positive way, I don't think. And that kind of turned him off. And then becoming the superstar that he was or that he became, then his personal life started being affected by it. Then his first wife, who wanted to be an actress, she was like, in the background, and she got lost in the shuffle. So there was just so much.
Mm.
Um, when his real issue, one of his main issues, is that there was not enough character development
Yeah.
with James Bond. It was like, okay, he was born, boom, at 36, he was perfect.
Yeah.
And there was no backstory. So he pulls out. And what does he do? He pulls out before on Her Majesty's Secret Service, which was chock full of character development.
Yeah.
James Bond gets married. He cries. He feels grief. I mean, I love that movie, and I didn't in the beginning as a kid. I did not like because Sean wasn't in it,
Mm.
but it's become one of my favorite general movies as well as James Bond movies. It's just so well done, and all I could think of all these years was how great would it have been with Sean
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
Sean would have done that movie. And then the flip side, going to the end of the franchise, at least for him, or him rebooting it with Never Say Never Again. I did not like that movie, just like with On Her Majesty's Secret Service when I first saw it. And I'm like, okay, where's the James Bond theme?
Mm.
It was darkly lit. It wasn't as brightly lit as the broccoli world was, and however, with these mature, allegedly theatrical eyes that I now have, and I've trained eyes, I watched it thoroughly for the book, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
It's absolute. I'm not that crazy about the M guy who did M, and Never Say Never.
Edward Fox, is it? I'll have to
Yeah,
check my
yeah. I
notes.
thought he was a bit over the top. I'm like, what is this? But beyond that, the film is wonderful.
Yeah, no, it's definitely worth a revisit. I think the bad guy as well, because he had a good relationship with the actor His name escapes
Yes.
me because he brought him in
Yes.
for the Russia House as well,
Yes.
and I think he had other projects in the pipeline with him. But yeah, so he had a real. But he said, like, he got the great crew together. He got Irving Krishna to do he got the best director at the time. One of the best actors, European actors at the time, Kim Basinger, upcoming. So he's like, well, look, we've got all the elements here. You know, let's just put it in place and hopefully it will take care of itself. But then he has to come in once everything starts getting into a copyright issue. He then has to come in and do all the legal work, and he had to do a lot more work than he really wanted to. And I think again that just kind of burnt his fingers with Bond. And he's like, right now I'm back to square one. I hate Bond again because it just took so much time out of my life.
Yes. Yes. It was a love-hate relationship, no doubt about it. And I tried to express that, and chronicle that and explore that in the book. One
Yeah.
of the other two great things too about the book, I think, is that Richard DeMarco, his lifelong friend, from Scotland and the homeland and all that, wrote the foreword. And I was so like, I just thought, well, let me ask Richard DeMarco if he'd like to write the foreword. And he said,
Nice.
yes. And I just could not believe it. And so he added that little bit of elegance, little extra bit of elegance to the book. Of course, as did Barbara Carrera, who
Mm,
wrote the introduction. I was floored that she also agreed to do it. And I said, now, why do you want to do this for me? Or, well, she was, I'm really doing it for Sean.
mm,
She wanted to make it clear, because Sean had a bad rap in the last few years of his life,
mm.
that she wanted to make it clear that he was nothing but a gentleman and just wonderful to work with and had the utmost respect for her and all the women that he worked with. And the Thunderball lady, whose name is escaping me at the time, who played Barbara's role in
Hold on.
Thunderball.
Luciana Paluzzi.
Luciana Paluzzi. How could I forget my paisan? Okay. She also felt that way about Sean. She remained friends with Sean, to the day he died.
Mm,
And he was terrific with her.
mm.
So, look, nobody's perfect. We all have flaws. I'm not defending Sean one way or the other. I was not there with his relationship with his wife and the other issues that some women might have had. But the way he performed James Bond and the way he was as James Bond was of the era. There
Yeah.
were women who were attracted to that kind of man who was overbearing or conceited or treated him like crap. There are a lot of women who are still attracted to that bad boy.
Mm.
But mostly it was of the era. I don't know what was going on in his real life. I didn't know his relationship with his wife. But all I know is that he did the best he could as an actor. He was beloved by everybody I spoke with, women and men. And he had that amazing charity that he dedicated a good portion of his time and money to.
Yeah.
And then he found the love of his life, with his second wife,
Mm.
who didn't really care about James Bond, which I think uh,
Yeah. It's
attracted him.
almost the best antidote for him, isn't it? So to not talk about James Bond or have anyone care about it and go, right, I can take the next 40 years of my life off. I don't have to answer anything about James Bond ever again. That's great. Well, we
Exactly.
mentioned Majesties there, and you've also written the book on Diana Rigg. Is
I
that
have.
right? Uh, so perhaps you can. Was there anything that you learned about Connery and his like refusal to be in the film, or like how that the life of Diana Rigg, because she also was in a film with Shaw, and how that dovetailed
Yeah.
into his life? Perhaps you can touch upon that.
Well, what I think I'd like to compare is that they, as I was saying with the stereotype, Diana Rigg felt stereotyped by the Avengers, the TV show,
Sure.
that where she played Mrs. Emma Peel so wonderfully in that gorgeous cat suit that she had, and she was really one of TV's first strong women, independently, physically, emotionally, psychologically. So she felt trapped in a way by the Avengers, and she somehow overcame it more than Sean did. With Game of Thrones, and the
Mm.
last movie she did was, oh God, I'm forgetting titles today. That's horrible. But it was, gosh, Last Night in Soho,
Oh
where
yes, yeah, the Edgar Wright film.
Yes, where she stole the film, you know. Now, however, she may have escaped the stereotype that I don't think Sean fully did. I think Diana was really different in every role that she played.
Yeah.
Whereas, as I said, with Sean, there was a bit of Bond in everything he did. You know, when I watch Larry Hagman on Dallas, I don't think of I.G. Magini. And when I watch I.G. Magini, I don't think of Dallas. I mean, that's how strong
Yeah.
a performance. I don't think Sean was able to do that, in my opinion. Okay.
Do you
That,
think Sean was underestimated as a thespian then and as an actor? Because he really wanted to go, like, let me tell you what I can do. I can do more than Bond. A bit like I think Daniel Craig wants to do here. And like when
yes.
Daniel Craig moves on, he goes, right, let me do the most furthest film that is away from Bond. I know I'll play a gay author in the film Queer. Whereas I think I have this theory, like Brosnan, as much as I like the guy and I love him as Bond, I don't think he's a real actor, like a thespian actor. So he's like, don't worry, I'll just do November Man, or I'll do something
Yeah.
other schlocky, and I'll do something that's kind of close to Bond, and
Ma-
hopefully no one
Mamma
remembers.
Mia, or I'll do
Yeah,
Mamma Mia. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No. Pierce. Yeah, you're right. And Pierce, to me, I don't know. His shoulders were this big, So I don't think he was big enough for Bond. One of the things that made Sean so great, and why the others were very nice, were very nice. Even Daniel Craig, very nice. But Sean was larger than life. And that's what James Bond needed to be. Sean was big guy. Pierce was okay. Daniel was okay. Roger Moore was too funny. But Sean was larger than life. So he was so larger than life as a human being and as an actor that he really could only do larger than life roles. And some of the roles he tackled were not larger than life.
mm,
They were real. His favorite was non-Bond was Robin and Marion.
right.
He loved that. He loved working with Audrey Hepburn. Um, so I don't know. I mean, Dinah Rigg. Yeah, the one point I wanted to make in
Yeah,
comparison
sorry, go for it. Yeah,
between Dinah Rigg and Sean was Sean looked great until just the last few months or last year of his life. He was robust and healthy always. Diana Rigg didn't, not that Sean had any surgery. I don't think he did plastic surgery. But Diana Rigg didn't touch the surgery. She smoked like a fiend till the day she died. She was so gorgeous, and she didn't take care of herself, in my opinion. She didn't take care of herself. So that was the main difference. She just let herself go, and
mm,
she didn't take care of her health, whereas Sean did. So that's the dichotomy there.
right, right.
But and she escaped, however, she escaped the stereotype, but he didn't.
Yeah,
So if she would have kept herself up, if she would have done the plastic surgery, which I don't think she should have done, like the Jane Fonda way,
mm,
she even objected to that, but just maybe a little bit, or at least take care of yourself.
mm,
Stop the smoking early on. Go to the gym. She didn't care. She
yeah.
didn't care.
Well, so that's interesting. I mean, I think she died of lung cancer, right? So
Yes.
she just
Yes.
went health. I think there's a point where if you're smoking 40 a day and you're in your late 60s, you're closer to the finish line than you are to the start. So maybe you just go straight over the cliff, Thelma Louise style, right? Yeah. So,
I mean, come on. I mean, come on.
so
I,
I've got a question for you, Herbie J. Your
excuse me.
favorite non-Bond, Sean, and where do, as a follow-up, where does Highlander rank in your pantheon of Bond film, of Connery films?
Um, I don't like the whole Highlander thing in
Herbie J,
general.
we were getting on so well. Oh, damn it. Sorry, that was me.
Um,
That was mean. It was a loaded one.
no, that's okay. It's okay. I'm not into that kind of thing. I mean, I think I don't like all the dark stuff.
Yeah.
My favorite is Robin and Marion, just like it was Sean's. Although, I'm gonna stick with Sean. I'm gonna be safe. My favorite Bond movie is of his is From Russia with Love, and my favorite non-Bond is Robin and Marion. I
Nice.
just love that they were so sweet together and that it was so real. They
Yeah.
made those characters real, which he strives so hard to do in everything he did.
Yeah.
Marnie, I like Marnie.
Hmm.
That's okay because it's Alfred Hitchcock.
Yep.
Um, I liked not the conversation. Was that the conversation? No, it was
No.
um um the Anderson tapes.
Oh yeah, yeah, with Walken, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Walken,
I
yeah.
loved that.
Yeah.
Um, he played the villain in was it Marnie he played the villain in?
Yeah, I get what he was not a like he's kind of like the anti-hero
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
one, right?
That's why I liked it.
Yeah.
That's why I liked it because he was just so different, and it wasn't like you say it was the anti-hero.
So
Um,
where are you on Highlander 2? How does it compare to Highlander 1?
I loved it.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. That well, Herbie J, maybe that might be a good note to go out on. Listen, it's been great talking to you. I can really recommend the book Connery, Sean Connery, before, during, and after his most famous role. We'll leave a link in the show notes. It's a beautiful book. I believe you're oh, and the One Touch Dame. There we go.
Yeah, we have one tough dame. Well, that'd be an interesting
Oh,
title. One touch dame.
One Touch. Sorry, I was trying to read it and you yeah, there we go. One
One
Touch.
Tough Dame
Makes
is
more sense.
available in hardcover and audiobook and Kindle. And Sean is also available not only just in Kindle, but hard CDs, old school. And
Nice.
anyone can order any of my books from herbiejpilato.com. Personally signed, I will sign them for you. So just log on to herbiejpilato.com or find me on Facebook, Instagram, or what they used to call Twitter, now X, LinkedIn. I'm all over the place.
Great. All right. Well, I'm going to rush over there and get the Diana Rigg book
Lovely.
because it looks great, and I'll listen to the audiobook as well, just like I did with this one, the Connery book. So I bought the book and then listened to the audiobook because it's easier when walking the dogs. All right, great talking to you, Herbie J.
Thank you so much. Blessings to all.
Thanks, man.